Kira and welcome back to another video. February is now officially over, which means it's time for a new monthly favourites video. As always, I just absolutely love creating and sharing these videos because they just leave me feeling so positive, and I hope that maybe my positivity can rub off on you a little bit and maybe make your day feel a little bit brighter as well. And I was actually very pleasantly surprised with February as a month in general. I was expecting it to be pretty bleak and dark and cold, and although the beginning of the month was very cold and wintry, I ended up having a really nice month, and I just felt like I boosted my own positivity, and by the end of the month the weather had changed to match my own positivity, and all in all it just felt like a wonderful month. So without further ado, let's jump straight into all of my monthly favourites for February. Kicking it off with my favourite book of February actually turned out to be the last book that I read that month, and it was We Went to the Woods by Kate Dolan Leach. I actually do have a reading vlog up on my channel featuring my thoughts on this book, so you can watch that if you fancy seeing my thoughts like literally as I go through the book and breaking down everything that this book deals with. But in summary, this is a utopian / dystopian type novel, and I absolutely loved it. This book features a group of 5 friends who decide to move away from the city into a commune in upstate New York. One of them is from a wealthy background and their family has some kind of like property with some old abandoned cabins, and they decide to make this into like a sustainable community style living situation, and essentially they try to create their own utopia, moving away from the like constraints of capitalist society and making a better, more sustainable way of life for themselves. But as is the case with most situations where people try to create a utopia, it ends up turning into more of a dystopian because things don't go quite as well as they'd hoped. In general, I'm a big fan of dystopians. I think they're so interesting to read. But in this world of dystopians, this book for me feels very unique and stands out as such an interesting read because it is so different from other dystopians. I think most dystopians tend to look at a much larger scale situation, often post-apocalyptic, and one that has affected either an entire country or even the entire world. Whereas this one is so small. I guess in terms of the like cast of characters, you could compare it perhaps to Lord of the Flies, in which there is just a very small group of people on a very small area of land trying to figure out how to do life. But that's totally where the Lord of the Flies comparisons ends, because this one is just so unique, and it is really interesting to see a book that comes at it from more of a utopian standpoint and then sort of going into how things go wrong. There's also an extreme element of mystery within this novel. We're kind of looking at it in retrospect, and one of the 5 friends who lived in this commune is telling the story in a very retrospective way, which means that you are aware that something hasn't gone to plan, and you're kind of putting together these pieces of the mystery and solving this puzzle as you go. And all in all of the elements of this book just create such an intriguing, dark, mysterious, and just super interesting narrative, and I love it. I'd highly recommend this to anyone, but especially to other people who love dystopians, because this one does dystopia in its own very unique way. Next up, we have my favourite foodie item from the month, and this is an item from Sainsbury's. So if you're in the UK, you'll be able to access this. If not, I'm so sorry that you won't, because it is so good. Now at Sainsbury's, they have a vegan range of food called Plant Pioneers. They have loads of things in this range, like ready meals, sauces, pizzas, all kinds of stuff. But the thing that I came across this month was actually their desserts. I'd never considered them before, but actually Jay's little sister got some, and she didn't like them because they tasted coconutty, but I love coconut, so I was like, oh, I'll have a try. And I'm so glad I did, because I've continued buying them ever since. They are so delicious. It is essentially a caramel chocolate mousse with a layer of caramel sauce at the bottom with some chocolate chips on top, and oh my god, I cannot express how good it is. I didn't particularly think it tasted coconutty, but I like coconut, so I think if you don't like coconut, then maybe you'd be more sensitive to the flavour, but I just thought it tasted like caramel and chocolate and just so delicious. They also do a raspberry cheesecake one, which is basically just biscuit, cheesecake, and then a raspberry sauce on top, which again is really nice. The chocolate caramel mousses are definitely my favourite, but the raspberry cheesecake was also incredible, and they're so good because you only get 2 in a pot. And something that I struggle with when I'm buying vegan things is that they often come in really large sizes, like you're getting a full brownie tray, or you're getting like an entire 5-pack of donuts or something like that, and it's just really difficult if you're the only one eating them to actually have them when they are their best. Whereas these ones obviously stay in the fridge, they are a 2-pack, so you're not not getting loads of them at once, and I just think that they're really, really incredible. And honestly, literally the best thing to come out of February, because I am obsessed. I love finishing the day with a sweet treat, and these ones are just perfect. They're just a little individual size, so nice, and just chef's kiss. Now next up, I would usually talk about my favourite product from the month, but actually I didn't find myself like having a standout product from the month of February. So instead, I thought I would use this as an opportunity to mention a product that I often use and that I'm actually holding right here. I'm sure I've mentioned this mug in loads of videos, I absolutely love it, and so many of you guys comment on my videos where I'm holding this mug asking where it's from, and I do try to respond to all of those comments, but other people might not see it. So just in case anyone is watching this video and thinking, wow, I love that mug, where is it from? It is from Urban Outfitters, and I actually only bought it in December of 2020, so just a couple of months ago, so there is a good chance that it might still be on sale, and I absolutely love it. It is such a lovely mug to hold. It's a nice round shape, and I absolutely love it, but I do just love the moons style, and it looks very like homemade ceramic-y, and I love it. And there is also, or there was at least when I was buying it, a matching sun one that I didn't get because honestly I have so many mugs, I had to pick just my favourite one, but that was also really cute too. And as a new addition to my monthly favourites, I wanted to talk about my favourite activity from the month of February, because I ended January feeling a little bit lackluster, low in motivation, low in energy, pretty sad, all of that kind of stuff. It wasn't an ideal month. So I decided to try and take things into my own hands and kickstart February with a challenge. So throughout the month of February, I set myself the goal of walking 10,000 steps every single day. Now that might sound like a lot of steps if you're not used to tracking steps, but Jay has been tracking steps for years now and he always gets 10,000, whereas I kind of dip in and out of it. But I figured I'm not at work at the moment. It's lockdown, we're going out of the house only to do exercise and to walk, so I might as well make the most of it and try and walk as much as possible. And honestly, now at the end of February, well, technically in the beginning of March now, I don't think I'll be going back, because I have loved getting out of the house, and the more I got through the month, the more 10,000 felt like a really achievable goal, and I was actually getting much higher, towards like 15 or 20,000 some days. And it was just really nice because you always feel like you're being active, you're spending loads of time outside, which is never a bad thing. And it just felt really nice to have a goal to try and achieve every day, but one that was absolutely achievable. And I just feel like I wanted to mention that because it really made me feel so good. I finished the month with over 350,000 steps having been taken, so that felt really, really good. And I just felt like if any of you guys have been struggling with lockdown, maybe feeling a little bit lower on energy, on motivation, or maybe just lower in mood in general, then maybe not 10,000 steps if that doesn't suit you, but just like picking a goal like that, something that is quantifiable but not like crazy or out there or too difficult to achieve, is, in my experience, a really great way to just boost your mood and give yourself something to kind of like focus your attention on. So I wanted to mention that in case it might help some of you guys as well. As I have just recently talked about this beautiful mug, I guess it's a good time to talk about my favourite TV show from the month of February, and that is The Great Pottery Throwdown, which is a show on Channel 4 here in the UK, very much like the Great British Bake Off, but instead of baking, the contestants are all potters, so they're making mugs and bowls and huge water sculptures and pots and all kinds of things with ceramics, and it is just so incredible. It was 100% just a chance thing that I saw the advert and thought, well, I might as well give that a go, but it is incredible. I so want to go to like a pottery place as soon as lockdown is over, because I just think it looks like so much fun, and the contestants are also lovely. They all help each other out and it just seems so wholesome. One of the judges loves pottery so much that he like tears up when people make good pots, and he's just like so passionate about it, and I just absolutely love it. It's such a good vibe, such a feel-good, wholesome, happy show, and I absolutely love it. And I also love Bake Off so much and things like that, so to then have another series that's just like Bake Off but slightly different is also really nice, because it means that I have two shows to look forward to every year rather than just the one. Next up, we have some favourite YouTube channels. This month I just could not narrow it down to one, so instead I have not one, not two, but three YouTube channels to talk to you about. So the first channel is Meg Hughes. I actually first came across Meg's channel in January, and I actually technically came across her on TikTok and then realised that she had a YouTube channel. She is an Ireland-based content creator, and her content is so aesthetically pleasing. It's unbelievable. I'm fairly certain that she studies like filmography or videography or something to do with filming at university. So obviously it's working because her content is so beautifully shot and edited and just incredible. She makes all kinds of content just about productivity. She has done some bookish content, which I think she's kind of exploring into now, and she definitely mentions watching booktubers. She makes some like foodie content, just general lifestyle vlogs, and honestly they're just so nice. If you love aesthetic vlogs, which is kind of what I love the most on YouTube, then her channel is definitely for you. Next up, for any of my fellow foodie people, we have Erin Rutherford. I love Erin's channel so much. She just creates really incredible what I eat in a days and vlogs, but she has just got such a wholesome and positive attitude towards food. There's no mention of restriction, of calorie counting, of weight loss, or anything like that. It is just food for the love of food. She eats a really healthy diet, but she also doesn't restrict herself and just creates really incredible recipes. And so I absolutely love that because I'm a foodie, but I do think that foodie content often coincides with really health focused or weight loss focused content, which isn't necessarily for everyone. And so I feel like Erin's channel is great because it does show a really wholesome, health focused way of eating, in which her focus is on eating food that makes her body feel good, but it also is just about loving food and eating whatever your body fancies, which I love. And then on top of my 10,000 steps challenge that I did in February, at the end of the month, in the last couple of weeks, I also started running again. Now, I am not a natural runner. I have mentioned this in a couple of vlogs now, but I never used to like running. A few years ago, back when I was at university, Jay and I got into running together. We trained for 3 10K races, which I completed. I wasn't very fast by any stretch of the imagination, but I completed them, and we were running quite regularly. But then after those races, we kind of like fell out of the habit of it. Jay has done some running on his own, and I really haven't done any running at all, except for like maybe 1 or 2 a year. So I started running again. I'm running 3 times a week, and I found that watching running content is super motivational. So a channel that I have, well, not found because I've been subscribed to this channel for a while, but I've really gotten into it throughout February, is Flora Beverly. Flora is a fitness content creator, but she is very science-based, and she always talks about exercise rather than being something to do for particular aesthetics. She always talks about exercise as something to do for like making your body perform well. So she really focuses on exercise, and specifically running in this case, as something all about like what your body can do and using your body to its potential rather than trying to run to lose weight, which again, kind of similar to Erin's channel. I just love that it has a more positive outlook on exercise and that it's not always just about weight loss. So absolutely love her channel. She does some incredible runs. She's done marathons, ultra marathons, 10Ks, all kinds of other runs in between, and she just shows loads of content, training for specific races, and then just her general runs that she's doing for fun, and I absolutely love it. And her channel, as well as some others that I've found in the last few days, have been motivating me so much with running that I've actually decided to set myself a challenge for the month of March, and I'm calling it Miles for March. The end goal for this month is to run a total of 50 miles in the month of March, which equates to 80 kilometers. Now that might not sound like a lot to some experienced runners because some people run that amount in a week, but like I said, I started running mid-February and I've been getting back into running after taking quite a long time off, and so that is going to be pushing myself to my limits, and I'm so excited. But I feel like watching channels like Flora's just really motivate me. So if you're also into running or you're looking for some motivation to make you get into running, then her channel is just absolutely incredible. Not to sound as though my entire life revolves around TikTok, although I'm starting to think that potentially it does, because next up we have my favourite song from the month, and I feel like I pretty much find all of the songs that I listen to now on TikTok because they just have such a great range of songs. But one song that I've been seeing used on a lot of TikTok videos recently is Golden by Harry Styles, and it is just so feel good. It makes me feel like it's summertime, which although it technically is not for quite some time, the weather has been getting better. There's starting to be some flowers sprouting up, and when I listen to Golden by Harry Styles, I just feel like it's the middle of summer and I'm living my best life. And that one has also made its way onto my running playlist as well. And then finally, we have my favourite podcast from the month of February. Now, as I've mentioned, I think every time I've talked about podcasts, my podcast listening over the last year has been all over the place, up and down, sometimes listening to it, sometimes not, mostly based on whether or not we're in lockdown and therefore whether or not I'm driving to and from work. And recently, I haven't been driving to and from work, but I have, of course, been doing my 10,000 steps challenge, which means that I've been going out of the house for like at least an hour a day to walk, sometimes alongside a friend for a social distance walk, but often just by myself. And so I found myself listening to podcasts again, which is wonderful. And the podcast that I've been listening to most has been Growing with the Flow by Nana Florence. Nana is a YouTuber who I absolutely love, and she started a podcast towards the end of last year, and I just absolutely love it. It's basically just her chatting to the microphone. It feels like a very conversational, friendly podcast, and she basically just chats about loads of different topics, from things like university, intention setting, mindfulness, future plans, education, all of that kind of stuff, and I just absolutely love it. It just feels very like you're just chatting to a friend, and it's really nice when you're on a solo walk because you feel like you're just on a walk with a friend listening to her talk about really interesting topics. So I absolutely love it, and especially if you also watch her YouTube channel, I'm sure you'll love the podcast as well. But if you are just a fan of chatty podcasts, then I highly recommend it. It's just really, really lovely. So that brings my February monthly favourites to an end, and I'm just leaving this month feeling so positive, uplifted, and I think full of hope again, which is something that I was definitely lacking in January. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing me talk about some of my favourite things from the month, and that maybe I've given you a boost of positivity today. I'd love to know if you also share any of my favourites that I've talked about from this month, and if not, let me know some of the things that you were loving most in the month of February. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.